Okay, this is May 26, 2011, and it's 2 p.m. And I noticed that there's a very large glowing cluster on top of the CN Tower restaurant dome. And it's not right on it, but it's in front of it. And it's suspended, however, it is not on the dome. So here it is up close. I could see orbs revolving around a large yellow round part that's plasma, and then it's got a red halo around the whole thing, and there are orbs orbiting around the yellow part, as well as shooting out to the left side of the frame along the bottom, and I'm not sure which way they're going, and they're shooting out on the top also towards the left. So this is a very large cluster, and obviously the orbs are at high velocity and high vibration, since they're creating plasma, and that's a big plasma ball and a cluster. It's not right on the CN Tower, but it's hovering just on the roof of the dome, where there's a viewing deck and a restaurant. So that's a large dome. It's the largest dome in the CN Tower. There's another one that's the viewing deck up on top, but that's nowhere near that size. And this larger dome can fit a lot of people, a couple of hundred, since it has a viewing deck and a large restaurant and a bar and everything inside. So you can judge by how far away you're looking at it from, and you can see that it's taking up a good portion of the restaurant dome part of the CN Tower. So this is broad daylight and it's sunny out, but that is not the sun reflection. CN Tower does not reflect like that just from the sun alone. And this is definitely a cluster, and you can even see the orbs along the bottom. That's where you can see them the best, along the bottom, counter-rotating. They're rotating counterclockwise. You can see that yellow plasma mass is changing shape constantly, and it varies with the speed that the orbs are maintaining or not maintaining. So these are the interdimensional entities I'm talking about, and this is not my imagination. They're really there, and they're really here in Toronto, and the air is full of them. This just happens to be one spot where they decided to make a large cluster, and because of the speed of their orbits and revolutions and their high frequencies, vibrations, the cluster is glowing. Normally this is hard to see in the daytime. Most of the time you see this at night because it's just too bright in the daytime to see something like that. But it's not impossible. I've seen it lots of times in the daytime, but not on the CN tower itself. So this is the first time I'm filming a plasma ball in a glowing cluster on the CN tower in broad daylight, and there are no lights anywhere near where that cluster is that could be said to be coming from the CN Tower restaurant dome itself. It's not coming from the tower. This is hovering next to the roof of the restaurant dome, and it is suspended in midair, and it is not on the tower itself, and it's just above the viewing deck. If I move this up, you can see where the windows are, so the people inside are not aware of it. It's just above the window, the top of the window. So this is right on the roof of the restaurant, and people are probably enjoying a meal right there, and they're unaware that that cluster is there. And it's right above their head. And that's a big cluster. I mean, look at the size of it. That's at least 10 meters, that cluster. Maybe more. I'm not sure what the size of the dome is, but that's at least 10 meters. And that's an underestimate. It's probably much more than 10 meters, but I'll just say it's 10 meters to make sure that I don't exaggerate it. But if you know what's the size of the dome that's holding the restaurant, then you can judge for yourself how large that cluster is. I say it's at least 10 meters, and I put it personally between 10 and 20 meters in diameter. I could see the oars just at very high pace and high velocity, and you can tell that the whole thing is at high vibrations frequencies. Now there are many oars in that large cluster, many, and they don't all just stay in the cluster, they come and go. What that cluster is a particle accelerator which accelerates the orb clusters and powers them up. It sort of regenerates them with energy, and the orbs recharge and then go off into the air and do whatever they're gonna do. But that's a particle accelerator, and this is a particle accelerator in action in daytime, and it's right now 2:30 p.m. and it's May the 26th, 2011. The location is the CN Tower, Toronto, and that's right downtown in the center of Toronto, and it's above the restaurant portion of the CN Tower, and just barely above the windows where the restaurant is, the top of the windows, and it's hovering right above the roof, or parallel with the roof, but just above the windows. Now you can see that the cluster has gotten even larger. It may get a lot larger, I don't know. It all depends how many orbs go in it. So this is not a figment of my imagination, and it's no sun reflection. And this is the real thing. And these orbs are interdimensional entities, and they are here in great numbers, especially here in Toronto. I mean, you can't go 2 steps without seeing them. And just watch the bottom, how their rotations and around the axis of the cluster, which is in the yellow portion. White orbs just rotating and revolving around that axis at a very high speed, high velocity, high vibrations frequency, and creating plasma, which is what that yellow part with the white center sort of shows. And you can see wherever that white is where the plasma is the hottest, inside that yellow zone. And around the yellow zone is the red glow, which also is throwing off a lot of heat. And you can just see the changes in the speed of the orbs, the velocity of the orbs changing faster and faster. And you can see what looks like a white stripe from half of the screen towards the left. You can just see that get whiter and whiter, and that's because the motion is in that direction as the orbs are being shot out from that cluster. So that whole stripe is orbs being shot out of the yellow plasma there, the nucleus. If you watch carefully, you can see the orbs themselves, even though they're traveling so fast that they're almost impossible to see. But if you really watch carefully, you can see that there's movement, and that they are spherical, they are orbs, and they are rotating around the counterclockwise, rotating around the axis, causing that yellow plasma and the red glow, and they're being shot out towards the left. And that whole stripe is just a whole bunch of orbs being shot out from that cluster, and they're all charged up, because it doesn't take them long to charge up. They take a couple of spins and they're charged up because of the high velocity. Now what that cluster is producing is electromagnetic energy, lots of it, and they're doing it through motion with velocity and inertia. The plasma is a byproduct because the air is so superheated that it turns into plasma. There's a good look. You can even see some of the larger orb clusters inside the yellow part. That's the nucleus. So there's half a dozen or so clusters, maybe a dozen. It depends how large they are, but they are the nucleus. And I'll back off some more. So that's the nucleus, and this whole part or more makes up the rest of the cluster, going way up into the sky. So the cluster can be a kilometer or more in diameter from that nucleus. And it's only the nucleus that's glowing, but in the entire area there, orbs are spinning counterclockwise in the air, because that cluster is providing the motion and the energy for the spin. So these things are for real. This is not my imagination. They're really here, and they're doing whatever they want and doing it wherever they want. I don't see anyone giving them a ticket. And there's people eating right there, right under them. I'll show you the windows. There, those are the windows where the restaurant is. And look at that thing, right on top of the people eating. Now if you were dining and paying good money for it, would you want something like this over your head and you don't even know about it? Look at the size of those orbs in the nucleus, and look how fast they're spinning. Look at those revolutions. They're faster than any bullet. And they are not small. Those things are large. The entire cluster is large. And this is just the nucleus. And people are eating right there, totally unaware that that's over their head. So I think somebody should start looking into this more seriously, or at least begin to look into it, because that's just too much. Now I heard people telling me I'm looking for things. You know, I'm just gonna back off. For those of you that said that to me, look, that's about 7 kilometers away. Or this is 7 kilometers away. And from here I can see it with my naked eye. I don't have to be looking for it. It's advertising itself. I can't help but look at it. So that's not the case. I'm not looking for anything. These things are displaying themselves all over, and I can't help it that people are too blind and too dumb to realize what's over their head. They should look up and check these things out, because they don't belong here. I don't recall seeing them here ever before, and I've been in this city 30 years, or more than 30 years. So I've never seen them until just recently. 2 years ago they started coming in en masse like this. So this is not normal. Not normal for Toronto, and not normal anywhere. Nowhere on this planet. These are not beings from this planet. And I've said many times what they are. These are interdimensional entities. They're intelligent, and they are here, and this is not normal. No one's asking they're here, what they're doing here, or how long they're gonna stay here, and what are their intentions. I mean, what would people do if they realized they were on top of them while they're eating? Somebody can choke to death being scared. I don't think they're too worried about if anybody chokes over their presence or not. They're just appearing anywhere and everywhere they want. And when people like me point it out, then I get nonsense like I'm looking for things. Well, you better start looking for things, because these things, you don't know what they're gonna do, and if you don't look for them, it may cost you pretty dearly. So you better start looking too. But I just can't ignore them. They're everywhere, and they're so big that, you know, if I was blind I could probably see it. That's how big they are, and they throw off light and heat and make sound. So I don't know how you could not see them, and to pretend they're not there once you see them is ignorant because they don't belong here, and of course I want to know what they're doing and what they're up to and what they are and where they came from and why are they here. These are normal questions for anyone that has a mind. We can't all be stupid. So I'll let you watch it for a while. And you decide for yourself whether this is anything normal that should be happening in Toronto. Right outside a restaurant window, that's one of the more expensive restaurants in this city. I don't know, how would you feel if you were eating right now with these things over your head that are at least 10 meters? The cluster nucleus is at least 10 meters in diameter. I mean, that's a lot bigger than a person, and it looks like fire because it's plasma. I don't think it's very safe to have that close to people in a restaurant and a tourist attraction. So I think someone should look into this instead of ignoring it. It's easy to call people crazy so you don't have to do anything about it, but you know, sooner or later they're going to be over your head when you're eating, and then you'll have to do something about it. And maybe it's better to start now before it's too late, where you can't do anything about it even if you want to do something about it. So I say start early and don't regret it later. Just look at how many of them are going around the CN Tower, and that's not just happening there. That's happening all around the CN Tower, the entire structure. I've shown that a million times already. It's happening around the entire structure. But what's happening now is that the clusters are getting larger and more pronounced. And now, instead of just at nighttime that you can see them glow like that, this is broad daylight and it's sunny out. And this is not a sun reflection. You can see the rest of the dome and it's not reflecting any sun. Okay, maybe slightly, but nothing like that. I mean, I can see that from 7 kilometers. That's how far I am from here, from there. And I don't need a camera or anything else. I see it with my naked eye. That's how I saw it, and I realized there was something wrong, because I didn't have the camera when I saw it. And if we keep ignoring things like this happening right in front of our faces, you know, if they turn around and start hurting people, then we deserve it, because we failed to act upon their presence and find out what they're all about. They're not going to care that we're ignorant and, you know, we're not going to inquire what they're doing here. That's better for them. And all these people saying that these things are our friends and good for us, well, look, why don't you come and eat there and have this thing over your head? See how you like it. Now that's suspended in midair, and surely that's a UFO. That's the very least that thing is, because it's not one UFO, it's thousands of them. And the other millions of them that are revolving around that nucleus, you don't see because that thing is so bright. But trust me, there are billions revolving around that nucleus, all sizes. And the air is full of them, the atmosphere is full of them. They're all over the trees and everything else in this city and in the lake, on everything and everybody, people included. And people better start waking up, because ignoring them is no solution. I'm going to take it from all different distances to try and gauge the size of it. So the cluster changes in size. It gets bigger, it gets smaller, depending on how fast and how many orbs are revolving in the nucleus and around the nucleus, and how much plasma they create. And all this is done to create an electrical charge via electromagnetic energy, so that they can transform that energy into any other kind of energy that they can use or need to use, because they can play around with energy and change it into any type of energy that they want. They can do that with matter, they can do that with plasma, but they can get energy from anything. You can see the large clusters in the nucleus. Now, there are orbs revolving around them, and they're revolving around each other, and there are orbs revolving around the entire nucleus. And then there are layers and layers of orbs encompassing a wide diameter, maybe a kilometer, that all revolve around the nucleus. And every orb that revolves around either the nucleus or around one of the clusters in the nucleus is revolving counterclockwise. All the motion is counterclockwise. Even the ones revolving around the CN tower, they're revolving counterclockwise. And I'm talking about the CN tower structure, the whole thing. And this is just one glowing nucleus, but there are others. But this one is really sparked up and glowing, and it's broad daylight, it's sunny out. And you can see on the sides of the cluster, the dome is not glittering in sunlight, because it never does. And this is not a sunlight reflection, this is them creating plasma, and that's what's glowing. Just want to go this way. Look at that. Those are all orbs there being ejected right off the tower. That whole white stripe is just orbs being charged up and ejected, charged up and ejected, charged up and ejected once they get powered up. Just look at that thing go. I mean, it's inconceivable how fast they're revolving counterclockwise. And some are revolving around a smaller radius. The ones in the center there of the nucleus, they're revolving even faster. That's where they revolve the fastest. As you go off from the center to the outside, the revolutions and rotations become slower. But even way out, at their slowest pace, they're still moving too fast to see. So just think of how fast they're moving inside the center. Inside that center of the nucleus. Just think of how fast that must be. You can get more of an idea how many clusters there are in that nucleus. Even though the plasma obscures them, you can still see separate individual large clusters in the nucleus. And there's about a half a dozen large ones in there now, but that changes depending on how many orbs go in and how many orbs get out. It's in constant change. There's never anything the same, and it changes so fast that it's hard to notice the change, because as soon as some leave, others come in. Okay, it's going to slow down. I hope it just dissipates so you can see how it slows down and dissipates. On the other hand, it could just spark up again and create more plasma. But now you can see the orbs. And you can see what's making the plasma. So for all you people who are telling you I'm just looking for things and you're all such experts, I don't think you know too much. Not about these things anyway. And you're not any kind of experts. Not at all. You can see that the motion has slowed down quite a bit, and eventually that will just dissipate and it'll be gone. But the only thing that'll be gone is the cluster nucleus. Those orbs are still there and they're still revolving around the CN tower. The air is full of them. They reach all over Toronto. They're not limited to the CN tower area. They're right here where I am and past me. They're just everywhere. The air is just so full of them. But just watch how that whole thing dissipates, and then that's the end of the nucleus. Unless it just sparks back up and increases the velocity of the orbs and starts to glow again. But anyway, it's good to see how that works, because it's hard to explain unless you see it. So maybe it would be good now for it to spark up so we can show the change or we can see the change from the plasma to no plasma and back to plasma, and how the velocity affects how much and what color plasma is produced. The orbs are still at a pretty good velocity. I mean, for them that's slow, but they're still moving at a high pace or a fast pace. For them it might be slow, but for us that's real fast. I'm just waiting for it to spark up. I hope it sparks up. So you can see how by just increasing the velocity, that nucleus just starts to glow. And you can see it getting a little bit red. And I don't know which way it's going to go, if it's going to slow down or go faster. But at least you've seen it at work. Okay. It just dissolves. Too bad it didn't change into a hexahedron shape. Then you could have seen how it makes a portal. Because when you see the hexahedron and then it expands, that's when the portal opens. And that's the things that are making them and bringing more of themselves in from different dimensions and piling them all in here on Earth. I don't know how many more they're going to bring in, but there's a whole lot of them here already. Too many. You can see the two large clusters there on the bottom and some more on top of them. Just think of how much energy is being created right there. Enough to power up all the other orbs that you don't see. And there must be at least 1 billion of them right around the CN Tower, just in the immediate area, in the air, circling around that structure. They just love those tall structures. And amazingly, we're building more of them all over the world for some reason. Even higher than this one. I'm just gonna check the bottom over here. Okay, look at them all on the structure of the CN Tower. There's just billions of them all over the whole thing. Look, look. That's all orbs. Layers and layers of them. That structure's supposed to be white when the sun shines on it, not black like that. That's just tons of them. You can see where they're more sparse, it looks tan, and black where there's a lot of them. But the whole structure is just loaded. Look at this side, there's not as many. Look at this side, there's a whole lot. Look, the whole top, both sides. Look over here. This is right below the windows where people are eating. Look at them all. Just look at how many are just revolving around the entire thing. Here you can see them good right there. That's right below the windows where people are eating. I wonder how many people would stay in that restaurant if they knew this was going on. Look over here. Look at all the clusters. Look at this cluster here. Right there on the left hand side, and the one in the middle. Those are large clusters as well. They'll be going soon. They're just picking up speed. There's some more. Look at all the entities. The whole thing looks black. Look at how many are on that structure. Here's the viewing deck. Now watch how many are all around that. Can't even see it. That's how many are in the air. Look at just how many are in the air. You can't even see it. That's not fog. I call that the orb fog. It's the only kind we have in Toronto. We don't have any real fog. We have the orbs. They create the fog. And that's why the pictures are blurry, because you can't get through them with any camera. Just look at how many are in the air. So next time someone tells me I have a cheap camera or I don't know how to use a camera, you come to Toronto and take a picture of the CN Tower and show it to me. And it won't look any different. Because there's so many of these things in the air you can't even see. Look how many of them there are. So we can pretend to be stupid and ignore this thing, or we can be smart about it and do something. Because letting this go on is not a good solution for anyone. Allowing this to keep going on is not a good solution. Because look, how long do you think you'll be able to breathe in Toronto with all these things in the air? Soon, every breath of air you take, you'll be choking because of them. And people with asthma or any other lung problem already feel this. And the doctors are blaming it on everything else. But they know what's going on. They're just told to shut up about it and not tell anyone. But I'm sure they're aware of what's going on. They're telling people stories and blaming it on all kinds of things. When it's these things, they're making it hard for people with any kind of a lung disease or even minor problem making it hard for people like that to breathe. Just look at how many of them are in the air. I don't know anyone who can consider that clean air or safe for people. This is criminal to let this go on. At least try and do something about it. Don't just brush it under the carpet. Look how many there are there under that dome. I mean, that's like a huge nest. And the whole thing is like a hive. Look. Look, they're packed so thick, they're in like 1,000 layers. Look. That's the color of the structure, or close to it. Even that's too dark. But look. That's how many of them there are. Just look how many of them there are. They're packed like sardines all over that structure. The whole thing. Look, here's the restaurant part. You can't even see it anymore. Can't even see the windows. Remember the windows I just showed you a few minutes ago? Look, you can't even see them. This is how many of them there are. You can only see them from far away, but from up close, you can only see the entities. Just flying around and around, picking up speed. That's what I'm talking about. And whoever tells me I'm looking for things, you bet I am. Because these things, they either gotta go or we're gonna go. There's so many of them. Pretty soon we won't have any air to breathe. Every breath of air will be packed with them. Look at that whole structure. It's turned all black. Just look at that. And you can't even see the windows anymore. I was just showing them before. I mean, it's just too much. Just look how many are down here. All over. Down that whole side. So be smart and be aware. Don't let people lie to you and tell you there's nothing going on. That's nonsense.